Hey y'all, it's Shawnee Wissenant, and I am here with a Valentine's Day treat for you guys. I am making champagne pound cake. I do realize that this is getting posted after Valentine's Day because I am actually making this on Valentine's Day, but we can always pretend. And Valentine's Day will be on the same day next year. Plus, every day is Valentine's Day here at Begin With Butter because I love y'all. And there's never a bad time for champagne pound cake. I prepped my mise en place already. Mise en place, friends, means that I have all of my ingredients in their containers ready to go, which is exactly what I have here. And so I'm ready to just go and get everything ready. My oven is already preheated to 325 degrees, a true 325 degrees, because friends, don't let friends operate without oven thermometers. And so I know that my oven is a true 325 degrees. Don't fret, I will link the oven thermometer below for you so that you can get the absolute best benefit out of your home ovens. Our ovens really want to tell us the truth, friends, but most of the time they are not. The only oven I've ever experienced that tells the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth is a Wolf oven that I had the pleasure of experiencing while I was on vacation one time. I do not, in fact, own Wolf oven. Mine are GE. They are super old, but they still work very, very, very well. And I give these things a workout every single day. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm just creaming my butter, just the butter right now. I like to do that until it's nice and nice and nice and smooth. The reason I do this first is because I'm trying to get a very smooth, cohesive batter for this particular cake and for every cake that I make. So to do that, I start by just getting my fats all mixed together. So whether I'm working with butter and cream cheese or butter, or if there's some oil in there, I always put my fats in and I start them first. I'm gonna add my sugar. Don't worry, you can find the actual recipe below. And so you don't have to worry about writing things down. You can just give it a little clicky poo underneath and it will take you straight to it. The magic of the internet. All right, so I'm adding my sugar. I'm doing all this on a pretty low speed because I don't necessarily want to burn out my mixer. I have had an unfortunate experience with another mixer where I killed the mixer because I was running it on high. All of my mixers, my hand mixers and my stand mixers, they're all KitchenAid. I love, love, love the brand. I have used it for years and years and years. They don't pay me to say that. I just really enjoy working with their products. But I also know that any mixer that runs too hard, too hot, and too fast for too long, the motor's going to burn out. And I know that firsthand. Want to know how I know that? I actually did a whole blog post on burning out a mixer. So if you want to read a story time, again, I will link it below. You can take a look at the time that I made myself sad and burned out my mixer. Friends, scraping a bowl is not just like lip service. When we say scrape your bowl frequently, it's super, super, super important to make sure that you get anything that is around the edges and on the bottom of your bowl mixed into your batter. If it's not mixed into your batter, that's bad news. And so we want to make sure that we get it there. For this mix, I'm working at about speed 2 right now. I'm going to pump it up to about speed 3. Between speed 3 and speed 4 is where I'm going to max out for cake batter. Max out for cake batter. Sorry, I just tickled myself. I'm going to max out there for cake batter because there's no real need to work cake batter really, really hard. We are going to push a lot of air into our cake using better techniques and not muscling through it with our machine. So we're going and going and going right now. If you want to see what you're looking for when you cream butter and sugar, no worries. I have another whole video on this very channel that shows you how to do it and what you're looking for. There's a blog post and also a video on this channel. And again, you can check out down below to see where you can find that information. Creaming butter and sugar is, to me, the most important part of mixing a cake. I don't think it's talked about enough. I think it's not given enough lip service to do it properly, because when we're creaming butter, that is pushing air, that's forcing air into our batter, and that air combined with the carbon dioxide from your leavening and the protein from your egg whites and the protein in your flour, those are the important elements that help cake rise. So as you can see, the techniques that you use, particularly creaming butter and sugar, as well as your ingredients, make the biggest difference in your cake rise. Yes, there are ingredients that are going to help with that. Your baking soda, which pushes carbon dioxide. Today, we are not using baking soda. We're using bubbles. We're using bubbly because this is a champagne pound cake, so we don't need the baking soda, but we are using champagne instead. But again, we're forcing bubbles and air and all kinds of wonderful things into our pound cake to help it rise. This technique is as important as any ingredient in helping cake rise. All right. I can't stress enough that my butter was room temperature before I started. And room temperature means, for me, that my butter has been out at least 2 hours before I use it. It means that my mixer beaters go through it very easily. So whether I'm using my stand mixer, which I'm using here, or a hand mixer, my beaters need to go through that butter very easily. Like if I just gently push down the head of my stand mixer, it should go right through my butter. I shouldn't feel any resistance from that butter. If I do, my butter's still a little bit cool. I will share with you, my mother, if her butter was too cool, and she used that good old Land O'Lakes my whole life, if her butter was too cool, she would just stick it right in here next to her heart, and she would go on about her business for about the next 10 or 15 minutes, and that butter would be ready. So, old school advice, if your butter is too cool and it's not ready to use, stick it in your bra. If you don't have on a bra because you're not wearing a bra that day, because you are tired, or because you don't wear a bra in general, so jealous of you, stick it in your waistband. It needs to experience body heat so that it can gently come up to the right temperature. All right. We are mixing away. We are mixing, mixing, mixing. We have got it. We have got it. We're almost there. With your cream butter and sugar, you're looking for something that has the consistency or texture, the look of very fluffy, puffy clouds. Like today, it's one of those days outside where the clouds are just so beautiful and fluffy. You're looking for that. You're also looking for something that is much lighter in color than when you started. And you're looking for something that isn't super, super grainy. Am I telling you to put your fingers in your cake batter? No. But I'm telling you to look at your cake batter and say, okay, this doesn't look grainy. When I touch it with my spatula, it doesn't feel as grainy as it did when I first scraped the bowl. Like this is perfection. Those of you who want to actually see this work in real time, you should come to my classes. I will link the Begin with Butter Home Baking Academy down below as well, so that you can have the opportunity to have a two-shot view of my face and then also a camera directly angled over my bowl so that you can see all of the beautiful textures that come out of properly creamed butter and sugar. So excited. All right, so our butter and sugar is creamed. The next thing we're going to do is take our room temperature eggs and add them one at a time. Why one at a time? Because we don't want to flood our mix. If we flood our mix with too much liquid at one time, it will ruin it. It will separate and it may be something that we can't come back from. We want to make sure that we don't experience that. So we're going to add our eggs and pay attention to what's going on in there as we're adding our eggs. And we're only going to add the next egg once there is absolutely zero evidence of the prior egg. When that egg goes in, it's mixing and mixing and mixing. You'll be able to see it kind of splash out against the rest of your batter. You want to see no evidence of it. You don't want to know that there was ever an egg there in the first place. That's when you know it's time. How long does it take? Depending on how cool your eggs are, It could take 10 seconds, it could take 30 seconds, but allow it to take as long as it takes. Don't skimp on this step, because right now what you're doing is you are activating, I'm a terrible dancer. You're activating those egg whites. And again, the protein in those egg whites is also going to help with cake rise. So you want to make sure that you do that, right? Give your eggs a chance to do what they do best, right? As Ray Charles said, I'm going to make it do what it do. You got to let it do what it do. You got to let it do what it do. So my eggs are in. 3 of my eggs are in. And this is the first opportunity that I take to really scrape the sides and bottom really, really well. Like, I leave nothing. I spare nothing. It all gets it. You can all get some of this. No, just kidding. I don't even know where that came from. I don't even know the reference for that. I don't know why I said it. But anyway, so we have 3 eggs in here. Once again, I am not going above speed 3. And I'm adding my, oops, I got 2 eggs in there at one time. Right? So what happens when 2 eggs go in at the same time? How do we make sure we don't flood our recipe? Because like I said, 1 egg at a time. So what happens if that second egg sneaks in there, like this one just did? You mix it a little longer, right? 2 eggs are generally not going to be that bad for your cake. If you start to get 3 and 4 eggs that sneak in at one time, slow your mixer down and let it work, right? Just slow the mixer down and let everything work very, very, very slowly. It will ultimately, hopefully, come together, but it's not optimal to have 3 and 4 eggs go in at one time. With these eggs, I made sure, once again, to leave them out for about 2 hours so that they would be ready to go. The whole thing about using room temperature ingredients is that, again, we're trying to make a smooth, beautiful, lovely, luscious mixture. And the only way to really achieve that is with room temperature ingredients. They combine much better when they're room temperature, and you don't have as much of a risk of separated ingredients, a separated batter. You reduce the risk of that greatly by just using ingredients that are room temperature. So again, I had 2 eggs go in at the same time, and that was a bit of a concern, but again, I gave it some extra time, no harm, no foul. Our last egg is now going into the mix, and I'm so excited about that. Oh boy, we love when eggs go in. Like, I'm sitting here watching it like, ooh, alrighty. Secret time! Who's ready for a secret? I don't sift until right before I put my sifted ingredients into my mixer. I have them prepped because, again, mise en place. I have them prepped, but nothing gets sifted until right before it goes into my recipe. There were a couple of reasons why people started sifting. One was because they were trying to remove impurities, like bugs, from their flour. That was really probably the main reason why people started sifting, because nobody likes to eat a cockroach while they are eating cake. So we started sifting in order to remove impurities, and then somebody realized, hey, we get a lighter cake because the sifted flour actually pushes a little bit of air into our cake. And so because I want to maximize that airiness, even in my pound cakes, I add sifted flour, or I sift my flour right before it goes in the mix. I sure do. The next thing I'm going to add is all of my liquid. Because I'm only using 250 grams of my liquid for this recipe, I'm going to go ahead and add it all at one time. I wish you guys could see, and I'm going to stream it in there slowly because there is still an opportunity to flood your batter at this point, and we don't want that. So all of my liquid is in. You should be able, I wish you guys could like smell my mixture. I wish you could. At this point, I'm going to take the vanilla that I forgot to add before and add it in with the rest of my liquid. If you, in fact, forget to add your vanilla, which typically happens after you do your eggs, add it with your liquid as it is a liquid ingredient. The last thing I'm going to add is the rest of my flour. Flour is always the last thing we add. And then, friends, I'm just going to let it do its thing for just a few more seconds. And then I'm going to take this little handy dandy, my now dirty spatula, and I am going to give this a final scrape. So yes, most recipes call for you to add vanilla after you finish with the eggs. And mine does too. However, sometimes, hey, I'm human, I forget. But if I see my vanilla sitting out on the counter, prepped to go, which is another reason why it's important to have Mise en Place done, if I see it out there on the counter ready to go, and my mix isn't all the way fully together yet, I know I can add it with my liquid. It will hurt nothing to do that, okay? At this point, I'm just giving my bowl a good scrape, the sides and the bottom. I'm scraping rather gently. I'm not stirring aggressively all the way through. I'm scraping rather gently because at this point, I don't want to have a lot of gluten development with my cake. Too much gluten development in your cakes, friends, means you're making bread. We're making cake. We're not making bread. All right. So everything is scraped. There's a little bit spitting up on me, which is awesome. We love that. And our batter is done. I'm going to take a minute, and through the magic of television, I am going to prep my pan for baking, as I always do after I prep my batter. And then I will be right back to show you this thing going in the oven, and then back again to show you this thing coming out of the oven. Through the magic of television, now what you see is my prepped pan ready to go into the oven, except there's something missing, my cake batter. I quickly prepped my pan as quickly as I possibly could. That process takes anywhere from about 2 to about 5 minutes, depending on the intricacy of the pan that you're using. Giving my bowl one last little scrapey poo, and we are getting this batter right in here. As you can see, I have my batter, my cake, on a sheet pan, and that's just a little bit of insurance. I have never once had an issue where my cakes have spilled, but where I can provide a little extra insurance, I always am going to do it. Alrighty. In this batter, we have some really luscious and lovely things that we have done to ensure great rise. But what you can also get in your batter is bubbles that you don't necessarily intend. So what we're going to do at this point is give it a little shake, and then tap it out. This does a couple of things. So when we shake it, we level out the top. When we tap it, we are working to pop any little bubbles that might be inside of our cake. What will happen is those bubbles, as it bakes, they will solidify, and then you'll have holes in your cake. So you don't want that. You want the rise, check, but you don't want the bubbles. Kind of thing. And here we go. 1 hour and 5 to 1 hour and 15. We're going into the oven at a perfect 325 degrees. Wait a minute, I think I hear something. Hold on. What could it? I think that means our cake is just about done. So, I'm about to go take this thing out of the oven. So excited! I love this part. Oh my goodness. There is such a beautiful dome on this cake. So gorge. It's a beautiful color. It has started pulling away from the sides. Like, Everything I am looking for in this cake, is happening visually. I'm going to do one more little thing because, like I said, I'm all about insurance. So let me do one thing to ensure that this thing is ready to cool. This is my little thermopop. It's by ThermoWorks. I check the internal temperature of my cakes. Instead of using skewers or toothpicks, I go right in here and check for 212 degrees. Okay, we're right at 212 degrees there. And I check in 4 places because, believe it or not, even though your oven is supposed to be a consistent 325 degrees all the way around, it can actually end up being quite a bit cooler in some spots than in others. 212. We're right at our magic number, and I love that so much. This cake is for some friends of mine, a dear family, for their Valentine's Day celebration. So I'm excited that everything is working out so well. And their cake is ready for the next 10 minutes to cool. And once again, because of the magic of television, we are back after 10 minutes. We've been kind of chilling in the pan for the last 10 minutes. During that 10 minutes, it's going to start to pull away a little bit more from the sides of my pan. That's how I can confirm, ladies and gents, that we are ready to go. So I'm going to invert this, which means turn it over onto, dun, 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 the cooling rack that was already underneath it. So I'm going to take the cooling rack like so. Hold on to it tight because you can lose a cooling rack, or you can lose a cake on top of a cooling rack. I'm just going to flip it over real quick. Because the pan is still going to be really hot, I'm going to tear a piece of paper towel, like just a little half sheet of paper towel. I tear it in half, and then I very carefully use that to lift my pan off of my cake. Perfect every time. All right, guys, I have made for you a champagne pound cake today. I'm going to go ahead and dress this up so that you guys can see the final representation of what this cake looks like. I hope you guys love it. If you want the recipe again, give a little click below, and I hope you love it. See you guys later.